Hello and welcome to the aForm Show, the premier podcast for all things architecture and design across the MENA region. Welcome to your tribe. Today's episode is supported by SkyStruct, the groundbreaking construction and project management solution that's absolutely turning heads in the industry. They are bringing together architects, engineers, project managers, procurement, and essentially any stakeholder onto one singular platform. Yes, clients are included. SkyStruct is genuinely changing the game. Its tailored modules for construction management, inventory, labor, cost management help streamline the chaos of construction projects. They are rolling out very soon in Dubai, but you as the listener can get in early. Drop us an email at hello@aForm.studio and find out how SkyStruct is the future, and it is here today. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the show, everyone. Today we are joined by Miriam Llano, founder and managing director of Amphora. Miriam has spent close to a decade honing her skills within the PR and marketing space of the Middle East architecture and design industry. With a fast-growing list of clients at Amphora, Miriam prides herself in working with both international brands and designers. Amphora offers a truly unique approach to brand communication for the design community, and we cannot wait to hear all about it from her. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Miriam.
Hey, Alan. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
Awesome. So we're sitting in the Amphora office. First of all, congratulations. It looks awesome.
Thank you.
And I understand that Amphora recently had your 1-year anniversary as operation. And for anyone who's been in business knows that is a very big deal. That is a very big milestone to sort of, go over. So whenever I start podcasts, I like to kind of go to the beginning of why and how. So I suppose my first question to you is, how did Amphora come into being? What is Amphora? Is there a meaning behind this word? And just what were your motivations behind it?
It's a very interesting question. I think actually to get to understand why Amphora was born, we need to go back to the very beginning of Miriam becoming a marketeer and a marketeer in design. No? So I studied international business and marketing back in university, and then I did my MBA, and all my colleagues went to consultancies and banking and private banking and totally different background, totally different things, that what I actually end up doing. And I end up doing marketing for design by total coincidence. So I was never a designer whatsoever. But after all these years, so I started in the UK, and then I moved to the Middle East, and always doing marketing for the design industry. I just developed a passion towards this industry and the way of doing marketing for it, no? And because, as you know, my background, I was for so many years with the same company, I felt that at some point it was time for me to be able to let all that creativity explode and kind of thrive with other projects, with other products, with other brands, with being able to create different synergies. Because at the end of the day, with my previous employer, I was always creating, campaigns and alliances, but always with the same company. So I thought it was the right time, both professionally and personally as well in my life, to launch something that was a bit more free. That I had the option to do different projects and different things.
Got it. Okay, so then I must ask, what is Amphora?
So Amphora, with the Amphora. Amphora, it's a Greek vase that actually you have there behind you. Right. It's the typical Greek vase with two vases and the cone shape.
Right.
And once I was reading a book a long time before founding Amphora, I was reading a book, and it was telling the story that it was recognized as the first marketing action in history. Why? Because the amphoras were creating with this shape, the cone shape, as a packaging action, to be able to be stored in the boats easier. Because the amphoras were transporting liquids, olive oil, wines, milks, etc.
Right.
So for them to be easy to be stored in the boat, they were created with this shape, to have more amount of them and for them to be standing.
Gotcha.
So since it's a packaging action, it's a marketing action, So, and I just thought it was a funny story, and it's a Mediterranean name, linked to me and my roots, Spanish roots. So right. I just thought it was funny.
No, I mean it's definitely a conversation starter. I mean, for sure. I kind of then want to ask for someone who maybe has not heard of Amphora yet. If you were to kind of summarize, what does Amphora do? What do you? I mean, obviously, I think I'd like to think I know, but for someone who doesn't, as a designer or a brand in our space, what does Amphora do?
Amphora is a marketing consultancy specialized in interior design and architecture.
Okay.
For us, it is very important to keep the focus. I believe truly that every industry has a totally different set of strategies, a totally different set of influence, media, tone of voice, way of writings. And in fact, within our practice, we are 7 now in the team. Half of the team are architects.
Wow.
Like yourself, no?
Yeah, I suppose.
Very talented people. No, but I really think it's very important because there is an understanding that's difficult to have if you don't really get the language and the way architecture and design works, no? And that obviously transfers into the way we write, no, about the projects of our clients or the description of the design brands that we handle, no?
Correct.
So yeah, in a nutshell, Amphora, it's a marketing consultancy for design and architecture, doing PR, communication, events, brand strategy, digital marketing, etc.
I see. Okay. Now that that's clear, I do want to ask, I was literally having a conversation with a friend today morning, and I hope that she's listening to this because when she knew I was coming to Amphora, she's like, you have to ask this question. So I'm going to just put it out there, and maybe you might have an answer for it, maybe not, but we'll see. As a designer in this ecosystem, we never have time for marketing. It's typically next to impossible for most studios, I think, at least smaller boutiques and things like that, who don't have an external agency, who maybe don't have a marketing person in-house. It becomes quite difficult to actually do anything with marketing, actually. So, and then when they do get external help, for example, if it is Amphora, something which they all kind of struggle with is, how do we convey our tone? Every sort of design studio has a specific voice or a certain type of imaging that they would want to be consistently portrayed with themselves. So as someone like Amphora, how do you kind of go and extract that and present it? I don't know if that's the right question or if I've missed out on something.
No. It's a very valid question, actually. And I feel one of the main things we always try to do for all our clients is to find their uniqueness,
right?
Their true essence.
Right.
It's something that sometimes we believe we know. And when we build our mission, vision, and values and everything documents, is very clear there. But I believe it's very important to dig deeper into the actual values of the company, the representatives of the company, and the heart, the soul of the brand. When you have that very clear and identified, which in many cases is definitely not what appears in your brand book document, you have to consistently communicate that in a true way. Right. Not in the way that you are comparing yourself to others and just see how other design studios are doing it. Just look at yourself and truly communicate your real values and your real soul, who you really are.
Right. Interesting. A kind of follow-up question to that would be, this is again just to sort of understand what your input to this would be. The same person who I was talking to was also asking me, given the pace at which, for example, social media works and how content is created and consumed and so on, the pace of it is quite fast nowadays. And she was more along the lines of, what if I want to be looking at targeting a more intellectual audience? What if I want to be doing content which is a lot more deeper, podcasts or longer form videos and things like that? Or even, magazine articles and so on. Is there still a place for that? Because that used to be the case, maybe a couple of years back or maybe a decade back. But is there still a place for that in today's kind of architecture and design scene?
Absolutely. It's about finding the right angle. And this is where the creativity plays a massive role, no? If we want something to happen, we need to create that change, no?
Right.
It's not about just packing your projects in the same way you always pack them and writing the same copywriting and sending them out, no? You have to sense the market. You have to sense not only the market, but you have to sense the world. What is being relevant now? And where do I place a role within that community at the moment, no? What is that message that I can contribute, that I can share now and is valuable and is engaging, no? Because why are we doing this? Just to be published in a magazine? Not really, no? We want to impact somehow our target audience for sure, and the rest of the community. So how are we approaching that angle, no? I believe for me that's the key to success, no? When it comes to, I believe, to communication, is to adapt to the different phases, both internal phases that you're also going through, because the same company can go through different phases, and that also need to be adjusted. Correct. From smaller practices to bigger practices. And it's good that the tone of voice and the communication focus shifts as well as your own structure, no?
Understood.
And then also within the market.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think, well, colleague who shall remain unnamed, I suppose there's your answers. But I'm more curious now, because you're saying all the right things. And as a designer, I am, much like our audience, are probably thinking, all right, that sounds perfect. Miriam, I want to work with Amphora. Could you kind of give us a brief introduction as to what that kind of client experience is? If someone were to come to you and say, we're lost, we need help, what's the kind of client process walkthrough, I suppose, with you?
So the first stage is the strategy. We spend a fairly good amount of time planning. We do simultaneously, we prepare the basics of the company for us to be prepared to communicate the company out there. But at the same time, we work on a strategy, no? And we do spend time there because, as I said, it is very important to understand, okay, what are the key selling points of what we do and who we are? Because these are the two aspects, what we do as projects and who we are as a company and as an entity, no? Once we have the strategy, then we start creating the marketing plan. Okay. And in the marketing plan is where we start putting all the tactics and all the actions that we're gonna develop. And then obviously this, takes time. Yeah. And along the way, because with all our partners so far, we have long-term relationships. In the middle of the marketing plan, we always plug things that were not there in the marketing plan. Gotcha. But because it's so important in marketing to keep your eyes and your ears and your brain and your everything super open. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to become a partner of your client. And when I say partner, I really mean partner. You need to be an extension of their team. And the reason for this is because you cannot only perform a plan and just, make it to conclusion. You have to always be open to something that come up along the way, a possible collaboration that is gonna fall in place, something that is gonna bring a lot of value and maybe was not part of the plan. It's something that just happened. Correct. And it's beneficial for the brand. So you have to be able to implement it. No, so I believe this is the main customer journey that we follow.
It seems that it's quite comprehensive, which is good, but I think what I really like about it is it's adaptable, which I think a lot of people would find comforting, especially as designers here, because us too. I mean, projects always vary, and you're in different mindsets, and I think most designers are typically also quite open to exactly what you said. Having a sense of what's happening in the world, so to speak, which is really interesting. So I then have a very obvious question to ask you, I suppose, which is, you've been doing this clearly for a while, and you know exactly what should be done and should not be done, most importantly. So while I'm pretty sure this might upset a few people, but in your opinion, when you see designers, or even brands for that matter, and their sort of marketing efforts in the industry, what do you see going wrong? As in, what are people doing which in your opinion would be, I don't think you should have done that, or this was a waste of time, or anything like that?
Difficult question. There are many things, no, obviously, and our job is to always advise the client. And sometimes we find it's normal, no? When a company has been doing something repetitively for a long time,
no one likes change.
Yeah, exactly. No one likes change, and you try to keep them out. But the good thing is that, and this is something we always ask all our clients, please trust us. And I'm very proud to say that this is our major asset, is that our clients really trust what we position for them. And something that is, just to give one example of a thing that I believe many design brands do wrong, it's something very basic that I really don't think you're gonna guess, because it's very, very basic. But it's something as simple as communicating the size of the company right.
Okay.
You said something before that I was about to tell you. You said we are a boutique company. And boutique is a word that I hate.
Okay.
I don't think it's a wrong word. Definitely it has a target, and we have boutique studios, but we have to be very careful on how we communicate the word boutique, because if our target audience and what we want to do as a design studio is to go and do a hospitality project,
right?
Boutique can be identified
as a problem.
A problem.
Yeah, I see that.
As you are small, you don't have the resources, you don't have the capability, you don't have the team to go through the specs of the hotel brand that are 2,000 pages. You don't have, no? So boutique is a word that we have to be very careful with. And then the way we portray the brand, no? In every channel, in digital marketing, in print, online, and the way we speak when we have, in every sense, the way we portray our design brand, I'm going to position myself as I was a design studio, it has to be related to the target audience that we have.
Okay.
So if our target audience is a commercial projects, or is hospitality, or we cannot go with we are boutique.
Right.
And this can be very, and I'm sure many people that will be listening to us will be like, oh no, but we are boutique. There are other ways of communicating the fact that you are very, oriented to detail, that you have a very close relationship with the client, that, the team is very dedicated, that it is not going to be, off the shelf kind of project. There are so many ways of communicating that without saying that you are small or you are, because it can be identified in their own way, and vice versa. We have designer studios that their target audience is to do, very detailed residential. And then the way they portray the studio on their social media, for instance, is with imagery and things that don't relate to that target audience, that relate to more of a, let's say, an architecture practice, no? Or something that is a bigger scale. And that doesn't relate to that target audience that is looking for more details, is looking for more textures maybe, is looking more for the soul of the company, is looking more for, right? So for me, this is something very, very important, that you identify your size and the size that your target audience needs.
Interesting. For our listeners who can't tell, I'm just in awe and I'm like nodding along. I'm like, yes, I agree. I agree completely. So that makes sense when it comes to designers. I thought what I found quite interesting was that you also work with brands. Uh-huh. I'm assuming the strategy is probably different there, or is it similar, you think?
Yeah. No, it's definitely totally different.
Okay.
Amphora, as you very well said, had interior design / architecture practices as well as design brands, both parts of the chain.
Yeah.
And that is with the purpose of creating value for both of them, no? And very often happens that we put all our partners to work together. Like, I don't know, I'm sure you're familiar with our projects and all the collaborations that we create, but the bigger the Amphora umbrella is becoming, the more serendipities happen between the partners. And that's actually the ultimate purpose of Amphora, is to create such a big community that all our partners can interact between each other. So going back to your question of the design brands, for me, and this is super clear, the biggest mistake of a design brand communication is always to put the sale at the forefront.
Right. Okay.
It is true that marketing has the objective to sell, of course, as well as many of the other departments of the company, because without that, we wouldn't be here. But you cannot have that in mind when you create your marketing campaigns, and definitely cannot be the objective of the marketing action. And this is something we fight with, or we used to fight, now not really anymore. And actually, yes, I mean, like we've had to decline certain potential clients because of that, because their objective was to have marketing actions that were aggressively oriented to sales and with a sales aspect. And this is not what marketing is. It's something way more beautiful
No, it's true.
than a sale, no? But to say it in a short way. But
no, I think you're right. I think there's one brand which comes to mind, which I shall leave unnamed, but this is a conversation I have with them because they constantly have events and, we're always at them. And I've always asked them, surely there must be somebody asking you, hey, is there an ROI to this event? Are we actually going to get any sales off this event? And what their sort of marketing team told me, they said, listen, the cost of this is that we want to be top of mind for any designers.
100%.
That's as simple as that. And funnily enough, I'm thinking about them and talking about them right now. Although I don't think I've done business with them for probably the last year or so. But yeah, I think there are brands that actually value that, which I think is quite key. Very interesting. Okay, so again, the show is all about kind of adding value to the overall community, I suppose. So with that in mind, I feel like it would be a missed opportunity to not ask this question. But if you could probably share maybe your top, maybe one or two strategies for most designers that would help them in their marketing. Kind of like obviously the basics, I'm sure, like have correct grammar, check your alignment. I mean, those are a given, obviously. But if you could share a few nuggets for our audience as to how they can improve their marketing, what would those be?
The first one is, I think, the one that we were discussing before, the uniqueness, no? Studying your true values and communicating that's for sure. Uniqueness, you need to find that. The second one, that is something that it actually was one of the beginnings and one of the reasons for Amphora, it's alliances. Okay. It is very important as a brand to create alliances and synergies with other brands. They don't need to be necessarily from the design world, but other brands that share the same values, the same brand positioning as yours, and work together towards something. No? At the end of the day, when you create an alliance and that other brand has already a set of values and a target audience and a pool of audience that is already looking at them, it's a fast way to maximize both of the brand's reach. No, okay. So alliances for sure is something that is not only for the design industry. It's something that we can see in many other industries. And for instance, now fashion and design is being super interrelated. If we look back at last year, Milan Design Week, the main installations that were in the mouth of everyone were, Loewe and a design brand, no? Yeah. So I feel this is something that, and all the projects that you've been seeing from our side recently are mainly alliances between different partners, no? So that's the second. And the third is trust your PR. trust your people. Trust the people that is working on your strategy. Gotcha.
Okay, fair enough. I kind of then want to ask, again, this is kind of just me selfishly asking, I suppose now there's no particular reason for it. Does this change when you look at designers having a personal brand? Not so much a design studio, not so much a, brand as in a company or a corporate, but do you get people who are, say, designers who are like, Miriam, I want to work on my personal brand, and how do I go about doing that? Are the strategies again similar, or do they need to differ in any way, or what would that be?
I feel it's very similar. We haven't worked on personal branding alone without being related to design. Right. So the personal brand at the end of the talent of the designer is very linked to its studio, no? Right. And is linked as well to the values that we were saying before and the soul, no? And that's why a company cannot be empty, no? Right. And whenever a company is not ready to have, let's say, spokespeople, it's very difficult to communicate that, because then it ends up being an empty space, no? A house without souls. A
house that's not a home.
Exactly, yeah, a house that is not a home. So yeah. I feel it's very similar for personal, yeah.
All right, interesting. As we sort of, wind down the episode, so to speak, I'd like to, look forward, so to speak. We've kind of seen and talked about everything that has, brought us to where we are now. But just as a sort of, what would your opinion be on the industry, so to speak? If there was one thing you could maybe change about the way marketing and PR is done for our architecture and interior design industry, generally speaking here, if you could change one thing, what would that be?
Here in this region, and again, because I worked as something similar in Europe, if I have to compare, I feel the worst thing that we face here, everyone from design brands to design talent, it's the low appreciation for design authenticity. It's something that it's really damaging the industry, and it's something that we really also fight in our little power. From Amphora, we really fight that. And it's a clear cut for us. Like within our portfolio, we really put certain boundaries, and something that doesn't really align with design authenticity will not land in our portfolio. But it's not the same in every project, and you very well know this, right? Being an architect, you know that you specify, and then at the end of the day, everything gets replaced, and everyone's effort goes down the drain. And I feel this is something that is not everywhere. I mean, for sure exists in other places. I'm not saying no, but in this region, it's for sure something that is really damaging the industry. That's one thing. And then a second thing that I really also we really fight from Amphora towards this, it's the bigger recognition to the Middle Eastern design. We are in a region where we look a lot at Italy and Scandinavian design and I don't know what. And we give little, not importance, but we give little, in my opinion, this is very personal. I feel we give little importance and credibility and recognition to the Middle Eastern design. No? It's a region that has impeccable craft, it has a very unique identity. It has a set of things that has everything. It has a big pool of talent, but maybe, we need to do more marketing, no? For the Middle East, for the Middle East design.
Absolutely.
And it's something we are definitely really, I mean, not only with Amphora, but before, I personally push a lot Middle Eastern designers and the identity of it, no? And as global as possible, because it does have a big potential.
Yeah, it's true. This is, again, a conversation which I was having earlier, which was if you kind of look 10, 15 years back, there was this sort of mindset that, there's not a lot of design talent over here. And, let's bring in a designer from the UK or Italy or, whatever it is, that kind of thing. But as a designer who's now been here for quite a while, I find it quite proud when I see local design firms here migrating the other way, wherein 10, 15 years back, you'd never hear a small studio talk about, we have a project here, and we have a project in Singapore, we have one in the UK, and it's nice to see that design's now flowing backward, sort of, that way, which is interesting. And I think you're right. I think we should showcase a lot more of the talent that's there specifically for Middle East designers.
100%.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so as part of the show, we have something that we call the aForm tradition, and it's just a bit of fun. It's nothing too serious.
You're scaring me, Alan.
It scares everyone when I say it, but it's actually not that scary. Essentially, what it is, it's a question asked by a previous guest, not knowing who the next guest is, and you don't know who the previous guest is either. So it's kind of a blind question out, and sometimes it's a bit of fun, and sometimes it's quite philosophical, so to speak. But we have a question for you today, which we have picked out from our sort of pool of questions.
Okay, interesting.
So the one that we have for you today is, it's a kind of an interesting one. Could you name a product? It could be any product, it seems. Could you name a product that you have recently purchased purely for its design aesthetic?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, actually this morning I just bought my favorite chair ever, the Wasili chair.
Wow, look at that. Okay, all right. Turns out it's a pretty good question.
And very relevant, honestly.
Okay, all right. So that's kind of our entire show. And obviously on behalf of our team, who's partially here today, we'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I keep saying, the show is only possible because of people like yourself donating your time to us and sharing your information, sharing your expertise and your knowledge, and essentially elevating all of us as a design community. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for giving us the voice.
No problem. And for the rest of you guys, we will catch you guys next week. Fellow aFormer, thank you so much for your time. If this episode added any value to you, please share it with anyone who may benefit. If you want to carry on the discussion, please get in touch with us over socials. We are at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aForm.studio on email. That is at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aForm.studio on email. Until next time, stay inspired.